Welcome back to the Mel K Show. Pretty crazy upside down data continues to come out of the Biden White House when it comes to jobs, employment, anything having to do with the financial markets. It's all very complicated to figure it out. Then they put out numbers, then a month later they readjust them, hoping you won't see that they readjusted the last time. Then the new numbers come out, same thing. We're over and over for the last 2-3 years. But I'm lucky because I have a friend that is very much invested in the entire job market from both sides, and he's back to join us today. I have the CEO of Red Balloon, Andrew Crapuchettes. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Nice to see you, Mel. Yeah, absolutely. So the job market has always been near and dear to my heart because I've always thought, look, if you have a great job, you have an opportunity to prosper, you have an opportunity to take care of your family, and a job is really a defining feature of a person's life. And so when I got fired from my job for being a conservative Christian, heaven forbid, even though the business was doing very, very well, I just didn't have the right social media profile back in 2020 and 2021. So I started Red Balloon as an opportunity for people to be able to find a job where they didn't have to walk away from their beliefs, walk away from their religious beliefs, from their beliefs around America and freedom, and the stories we hear. It was very timely that we were able to do Red Balloon. We just recently did a survey and a bunch of job seekers. One lady said she was given a new cross necklace by her husband and was told by HR that you're not allowed to wear that here. It is triggering other employees. And another guy said he had an American flag pin on his jacket and was told he is not allowed to wear that at work here in America. So unfortunately, the wokeness in the workplace is eating the heart and soul out of a lot of these businesses and the job seekers that are there. And so what Red Balloon is we're a solution for that. We're a solution for businesses who want to hire people who actually show up and work and aren't whiners and actually want to bring a ton of value. And I'll give you an example of this. We just helped the Job Creators Network. So Red Balloon does this really interesting recruitment process. So if you've ever worked with traditional recruiters, you're going to pay $20,000 to $40,000 for them to help you find a new hire. And Red Balloon said, look, we believe that we can be a real blessing to the businesses in this freedom economy. And if we can do it at scale, then we can get the price down because we're at the scale of a job board. So for somebody like Job Creators Network, they needed a new social media manager. And you need to understand, on Red Balloon, we generated 500 applicants for the social media manager. And I want you to stop and think just for a hot minute as a hiring manager, if you got 500 resumes, what would you do? Right? There's no way for you to spend anything short of weeks spending time to try and sort through those people and figure out who is the needle in the haystack, the right person for your position. And unfortunately, that's the plight of many employers today. And so we charge Job Creator Network just a $4,500 flat fee. We have a team of experts that went through all the resumes, where they're able to sort, DQ some of them, and actually bring them the right hire. We actually do the interview and make sure that you get a culture fit and someone who is going to have the skills to make your organization successful. And we do it at a price point that is affordable for so many businesses. So in only the last 9 months, we've now done this for over 250 positions with an extremely high success rate because we're at the scale of a job board. We love the businesses in this freedom and parallel economy, and we want to be a blessing to them. And so that's why I'm excited that I get to talk about this with all the businesses listening to the Mel K Show, because it's a totally different solution than what many recruiters are going to charge. We're going to charge way less. We're going to bring way more value just because we're doing it for so many employers at the same time. We have an awesome team here, and we're excited to help you. So that's what's cooking at Red Balloon, and it's really fun to be part of that story for a lot of people. Well, that's absolutely true. And unfortunately, it kills the innovation in a business, right? If you're not allowed to say something because you don't know what's going to offend someone, you're walking on eggshells all the time. Many good business books will tell you that every great idea comes from about every 10 bad ideas. So you have 10 bad ideas, it's going to produce one really good idea. But if you're not allowed to say anything within a corporation that's not lockstep with the political left agenda, then you're not going to be able to have the freedom to innovate at any level. In fact, we did a survey of 100,000 job seekers on redballoon.work, and we said, and these are job seekers who have not found a job yet through Red Balloon. Many have, but these had not. And we said, tell us about your work environment. 63% said that they believe that if they were found out as a Republican or a conservative, that it would have dramatic and detrimental impact on their career advancement opportunities within their workplace. And that has nothing to do with their skill level. It has nothing to do with their ability to drive value for the business. This is all about their voting patterns, or what they believe about traditional families, or what they believe about the society is having huge impact. So unfortunately, those 63%, they self-censor. They're like, I'm just afraid. Exactly. It's going to cost me my job. It's going to cost me raises. It's going to cost me promotions. If anyone knows what my belief system is, which is a traditional American belief system. So that's 63%. 76% told us of these 100,000 workers that they would happily take a pay cut if it meant working for a business that was not curb stomping their freedom every single day. Let that settle in. So 76% of job seekers, 100,000 job seekers, said they would happily take a pay cut if they could work for a pro-freedom business. So if you're a pro-freedom business, you have an enormous market opportunity to get in front of those people, because if you'll just respect someone's freedoms and let them live their values out loud, you're going to get the best workers who are not whiners, who show up and work hard, and they're even willing to earn less for that, right? Obviously, you want to pay them well, you want to take care of your people, but the reality is that freedom sometimes is more important than the highest pay rate. And so that's the story we're seeing in America today. And again, it's a huge opportunity. If you're a pro-freedom business, if you're willing to live your values out loud, you're going to get the best people. And obviously, redballoon.work is here to help. Yeah, absolutely. So it's called the Freedom Economy Index, the FEI, Freedom Economy Index. It's a joint project of Red Balloon and Public Square. And so we work together to survey all of our businesses and ask them a variety of questions around higher education, around inflation, around their business and their hiring. And there's some significant trends that we've been seeing. So since we've been doing this for now over a year, we've seen the optimism of businesses, just general business optimism, over the last year has gone down from 49% down to 30%. Wow. Only 30% of our businesses are optimistic about their business, about the future. And that's just a mindset. And we all know if you're not optimistic that you can win, you probably won't, right? And so these businesses are feeling the significant headwind that's coming out of taxes, regulation, the government, and just the woke ideology that's pushing back against businesses. So we've gone from 49% down to 30%. When we started the survey, we asked businesses, are you hiring, are you firing, or are you just kind of holding on to your team, neither hiring or firing, maybe replacing people? That was 53% a year ago. It's now over 70%. 70% of businesses are just hunkering down. They're trying to take care of their people. They're trying to protect their people, but they're only hiring to replace people when those folks leave. And so I think this is also a mind shift. This is not a growth optimism mindset that a lot of these businesses have. And there's a lot of businesses. And the reason we're doing this survey is because these businesses don't really have a voice. Mainstream media, politicians, they don't listen to the people on Main Street. They only listen to the people on Wall Street. And so we wanted to give a voice to these businesses. So their optimism's down. They're not firing their people necessarily, but they're just kind of in a hunker down, wait and see mode. And if you look at what they think that the Fed is going to do, whether it's going to raise rates or decrease rates, that has also shifted from the rates are going to go down to, honestly, we don't think the Fed's going to do anything. We think the rates are going to stay where they are. Inflation is still out of control because of government spending, not because of interest rates. And a lot of these businesses are feeling the fiscal impacts of inflation on their business. And so they don't see a world in which the Fed actually lowers rates. A lot of people thought the Fed would lower rates because they want to make the Biden administration look better. But honestly, at this point, I think that ship has sailed. And I don't know that the Fed is going to do anything with the rates before November. So the Freedom Economy Index, if you want to find out more or see all of this data, you can go to redballoon.work/freedom economy. That's redballoon.work/freedom economy. And we put these out about every 6 weeks in conjunction with Public Square. And there's just some fascinating information in there about what businesses actually think rather than what CNN tells them to think. Right. And the Supreme Court decisions actually were very encouraging and very good for small businesses. I talked to a lawyer of one business. He said, this is going to save me 10 hours a week to not have this the Chevron case in particular. So that's really encouraging. But Mel, you're absolutely right. You look at these job numbers. people are starting to question the validity of these job numbers coming out of the Biden administration. So if you look at the last month, if you look at the job numbers for June, the economists thought there was going to be 190,000 jobs created in the month of June. The Biden administration, easy for me to say, came out and said 206,000 jobs and celebrated like it was 1999. And then they started talking about the revisions. And if you look at the revisions, there's usually a first revision and then there's a second revision. If you look from the original number to the second revision, 15 of the last 18 months have had a downward revision. And in fact, if you look at the last 2 months, you have 124,000 fewer jobs than they originally said were in the economy. So you have this 206,000, that's fantastic. But then you have 124,000 that you really need to subtract from that. And now you're down to 82,000. Also bad news, the government hired 70,000 people in June. 70,000 people were for state, local, federal government. And so all of a sudden, if you run the math, the private sector created 12,000 jobs in June. Well, that is a terrible economy. That's a terrible story. Like that's horrible. And unfortunately, nobody's talking about that because they celebrate this 206,000 jobs. And honestly, that's not actually the story of what's going on. The government is hiring a lot and they keep revising the numbers down pretty dramatically. The economy is not in good shape. And I like Vivek Ramaswamy's solution. He said, if I get into office, I'm just going to go and find everyone with an odd number in their social security number and they're out of here. Right. And let's just get rid of half the government and then we'll start to go after, Department of Education and other areas. So, right. That's what we have to do because otherwise the inflation will not be fixed by interest rate cuts or increases until we stop the government spending. This out of control government spending is what's killing this country right now. Yeah. So if we look at our businesses, and Mel, you're right. A lot of them are like, why do I have to compete with the government with my tax dollars for the best talent out there? Because the government's hiring up everybody, right? I mean, just think about that for a minute. That's terrible. But so a lot of these businesses, as I talk to them, they are waiting for November. They're waiting for the election. They are optimistic that Biden is no longer going to be there and that Trump is going to come into the White House. And while Trump is not perfect, Trump did a lot of really good things for this country in the 4 years he was there. And people are hoping that he's going to do that again. The economy was good. Inflation was down. Gas prices were reasonable. We didn't have continual wars, and wars are expensive. They're hard on, obviously, they kill people, which is horrible, and they just cost a lot. And so Trump was able to accomplish those things. And our businesses right now, we asked our businesses how many of them would survive another Biden administration. And over 40% said that if Biden got in the White House again, they would just shut their doors. They don't think they can handle another 4 years of this. Right. And so they're just in a hunker down and wait for November mode. And I think if that's the case for your business, you need to be careful about who you're hiring. Obviously, if you lose people and you need to replace them, we would love to get you not a bad hire. But also, people need to be preparing and pushing for November. The election does matter. Your local elections matter as well, because when I talk about those 70,000 jobs in the economy, that's not just federal jobs, that is state and local government. State and local government, there are millions and millions and millions of employees that are supported by tax revenue, state and local tax revenue. And so we need to be pushing back on lots of fronts. The federal government's a huge problem. That's where we have the national debt. But a lot of our state municipalities are also doing a lot of terrible things with our tax dollars. And so we need to be pushing back on all these fronts. And obviously, we need to be voting in November, but also you need to be voting with your wallet at places like Public Square, or voting with where you do your hiring at redballoon.work, or supporting Mel's show, because this is how we're going to build an economy that's able to push back against this crazy stuff. Because if we don't do that and we just kind of sit down and do that self-censor, it's going to happen, and all of a sudden we're going to have 4 more years of Biden or whoever his puppeteer is, and that's going to be really bad for our country and for our businesses. Go and live and be and create money for your family. So it's not just lawyers, but obviously that's a huge problem, and the judges that are getting in, right? And so, but my encouragement to people is if you look at all these problems, you can either just, kind of hug yourself and rock in the corner because it feels like there's nothing you can do, or just pick one thing that you can do. Support Mel's show. Go out and spend money on Public Square.
Yeah.
If you're going to do hiring, hire at redballoon.work. If you start to do one thing different, if all the conservatives in the country decide, you know what, I'm going to change one behavior today and I'm going to change one behavior tomorrow and I'm going to keep that up, this country's going to change directions in a hurry. And so I think that's kind of the message that we need to see, because I could spend the next 3 days talking about all the bad things that are happening in the labor market and wokeness in the workplace. And all of these things are true, right? It's not that I'm downplaying them at all, but we have to do something about it. And just sitting on your couch and watching Fox News is not going to solve the problem. That's right. And I think what we need to do as Americans is continue to push back. And I do see the pendulum swinging back. I see businesses walking away. The lawsuit against Pfizer is in Kansas, where I think you had that gal on your show
Karen,
talking about that.
Yes.
Karen, it's amazing, right? So, pushing on these things is really important, but what's the unifying factor is someone's doing something, right? And I think that's what Americans need to remember. Freedom is not actually easy. It doesn't just happen. You can't just continue to do what you've always done before and hope that someone else is going to take care of it. You think of every great story you've ever read. The hero is usually not the person who sits on their couch and drinks beer. It's usually someone that goes out and does something. And so as more and more Americans are waking up, I don't want this pendulum to swing back and everyone to go back to sleep. I want them to say, no, let's take this moment. Let's use this moment, use this momentum to continue to push the country into a better place. America has been a shining light for the world for many, many years. And I think we have lost that. And I think a lot of the people on the left, they're embarrassed of America. They're embarrassed of what we've accomplished as a nation. And capitalism has brought more people out of poverty than any NGO could even imagine. And so we are now in a moment where we have a decision. If you're watching the show, you have a decision. Do you want to just wait for other people to solve the problem, or do you want to do something? And if you do something, you're going to be part of the story, and it's going to be good for your soul, whether you're successful or not. You are going to give courage to everyone around you. And let me give you an example of this. We did this push in June a couple of years ago. June is Coming Out Conservative Month. We wanted conservatives to come out and live their values out loud and not be afraid in the month of June. And it didn't have to be shrill like the left did. It didn't have to be jamming your worldview down someone else's throat. Just live your values out loud. And lo and behold, a lot of these people found that when they started to talk about what they did on the weekend. I went to synagogue, or I went to church, I went to, and just talked about their family and talked about what they believe and said, I'd like to take a religious exemption on this DEI training or on this vaccine. When they started to do these things, they found out that most of the people in the workplace agreed with them and were being indoctrinated along with them. And when they stood up and they were courageous, everyone around them got courage and like, yeah, I don't want to go to that DEI training either, right? And we heard tons and tons of stories of people who just did one courageous thing and it gave courage to everyone who's around them. And so I think that's the moment we're in. Yeah. And the businesses that are hiring with Red Balloon, they're finding that, well, it takes a little bit of courage to do something different than they have always done. They've always hired on Indeed or ZipRecruiter. They've always, been careful in the interview because they knew that if they said the wrong thing, they're going to get a lawsuit. In fact, Mel, I don't know if you know this, 75% of businesses in America have had a labor-based lawsuit in the last 5 years. 75% of businesses in America have had a labor-based lawsuit, and it's, you mispronounced someone, which now is considered sexual harassment, or you, or they think you discriminated against them. And sometimes the left-leaning businesses are discriminating against white males or protected categories, right? But my point is, if you as a business say, I'm going to do something different, I'm going to go work with somebody like a Red Balloon, then you're going to show courage to those job seekers. And even if you don't end up hiring them, for them to see that there are businesses out there that are willing to stand for freedom, who are willing to stand for the capitalism that made America great in the first place, that is super encouraging to the hundreds of thousands of job seekers on Red Balloon. And so that'd be my encouragement to you as a business, is do something that would be a blessing to people around you. And you're now going to be part of the story of freedom in America. And it's really, really important. Yeah, so if you're a job seeker, everything is free for you. And we want to
Right.
make sure
That's
that
awesome.
you are put in a position where you can find success in the labor market. And look, I have had notes from people who said, look, I didn't realize what an impact the DEI training or the ESG training and the CRT training was having on me, but it really is a liturgy designed to make me think a certain way. I had a single mom write me and say, I just found a new job through Red Balloon. And after a couple of weeks, one of my, she had two young boys, and one of them said, Mommy, you're not angry all the time now. And she's like, Oh
True.
no. And
Yeah.
she's like, Yeah, I was angry all the time. I've had dozens of people write me and say, I just wanted you to know you saved my marriage because the job that I got where I can now be free and I'm not having a worldview jammed down my throat every single day. So you need to understand it really is important for you, for your family, for your soul. You go to redballoon.work, you can fill out a job seeker profile for free. You can share that with employers. And once you've done that, employers now are in a position where they can reach out to you and find out if you're a good fit for their organization, or you can apply to jobs. We also have a lot of great free resources. There are videos on how to write a resume, on how to interview. You can download the the job seeker, the employee bill of rights,
Right.
the employee bill of rights and responsibilities. It's a free resource for any job seeker to know what their rights and their responsibilities are in the workplace.
Right.
That was written by our labor lawyer. So we really want to be a blessing to job seekers. The 150,000 job seekers a week or a month that are coming to redballoon.work are being blessed, and I'd love you to join that group. If you're an employer, you basically have two options. It's really straightforward. If you want to post jobs, you're going to be able to do that for as little as $75 a month. And that's kind of a do-it-yourself. You can go in there, you can post your job. You're going to be in front of 150,000 job seekers a month who are looking for a business just like yours. Or if you're overwhelmed by the hiring process, if you hear that stat of 75% of employers who have had a labor-based lawsuit in the last 5 years, and you say, I don't want to be part of that stat, I'd like to avoid that, but I'd still like to hire good talent. That's where you can use Red Balloon Recruiter. And I mentioned that earlier in the show. For $4,500, we'll take over the entire recruitment process. And we have placed everything from secretaries to CFOs from Alaska to Hawaii. And been able to come alongside employers and be able to bring them the right talent that's going to be a values alignment and a skill fit for their business. So again, you can post jobs, you can do it yourself, or you can have us just take over the process. We'll write the job description for you. We'll do a compensation review so you know what the market is paying.
Great.
We're going to reach out to people. We're going to interview them for you. We're really going to take that burden off your shoulders of finding the next great employee for your business. Yeah, so the Freedom Economy Index, a joint project of Public Square and Red Balloon. Freedom Economy Index, you can go to redballoon.work/freedom economy, and you can find out all the reports. And again, we've been doing these for over a year now, and it's been fascinating what the results have been, what these businesses are thinking. So I'd encourage you to go check those out. And look, if you go to redballoon.work, we're going to give you a lot of free resources, and we want to be a blessing to you, whether you buy anything from us or not. We want to make sure that your business is thriving and succeeding. And so what we'll do for a lot of businesses, if you want to, kind of do a happy hour with us, even though it's virtual, we will happily just let's talk through your business. Let's talk through your hiring. Let's talk through your employees. Right. We do that all the time for businesses, even if they're not customers, because we want businesses to survive. And then if there's anything we can do for you as a job seeker, feel free to reach out. In fact, you can go to the website or you can email us at jobseekers@redballoon.work. And we're going to do everything we can to try and find you a new job. But even beyond that, we want you to be courageous. We want you to be free because that's going to be good for your soul. So you don't have to quit your job, but you should stand up at your job, stand up for freedom. And you're going to be standing up for all the people around you. And that's what redballoon.work stands for. It's freedom. It's living your values out loud. And it's getting back to working hard and focusing on work rather than political correctness.